Following up to the extremely well-reviewed and well-received Galaxy S7 in 2016, I think it's safe to say everyone had their eye on Samsung to see what the next move was going to be. The S7 at the time was pretty much everything an Android user ever could want, with water resistance, amazing camera, amazing display, super high-quality build. For Samsung, the S7 is the best phone they ever built. The only issue was 2017 was going to bring some insane competition into the tech world, and Samsung knew it was coming. 2017 brought us the iPhone X, which introduced the design we still have to this day. The essential phone created by Android founder Andy Rubin was also coming in 2017. We saw Razer release the Razer phone, BlackBerry was making a comeback, Nokia was making a comeback, the Google Pixel 2 and the OnePlus 5T were releasing, and both were killing it. Like I said, 2017 had a ton of competition, and not to mention, Samsung was still facing a lot of criticism for the failed launch of the Note 7. It was clear Samsung needed to innovate hard on their next phone if they want to stay competitive in the market, and in comes the beautiful Galaxy S8. And in this video, we're going to take a retrospective look at how the S8 holds up today compared to its release in 2017 and where it stands in the tech world. I just have to say this right off the bat. In my opinion, the Galaxy S8 is peak Samsung design, and it's very clear that they wanted to make the S8 as beautiful and modern as possible. That meant getting rid of the Samsung logo on the front, as well as removing that iconic home button setup in exchange for a pressure-sensitive button built into the screen. This was able to get us insanely small bezels and more room for an even bigger display. On top of that, Samsung made a ton of smaller revisions to clean up the design, like swapping to USB-C, shifting that fingerprint scanner to the back of the phone for one of the best camera sensor layouts we've probably seen in terms of aesthetics at least. All of this before I get to the feel and hand itself. The S8 series is the most comfortable feeling phones I've held in a long time, and it's all because of how curvy this phone is. There is curved glass and metal on this phone everywhere that they could fit it, and there's basically not a single sharp edge on this phone anywhere. For me, this feels great, and it just sits into the palm of my hand so naturally that I had to give it a shout out for just that alone. Somehow they found a way to make the metal and glass on this phone come together seamlessly, and it's just a gorgeous look, a gorgeous feel, and I'm super happy with the S8 in general. Design-wise, we also have the biggest change, which is the infinity display, and near the end of the video I have a whole segment on how good the screen is, but just talking about the design itself, it's so refreshing to look back and not have a notch or a hole punch obstructing my viewing experience. I know we're just used to it these days, but I'll take these bezels on a 2022 phone any day if that means I get this full screen, clean-cut, symmetrical look on the front. It's been a while since I've seen a layout like this, so it's kind of crazy to think that in 2017 this was considered a huge advancement, and clearly it set Samsung apart from the pack. Another big shift in the industry at the time was software, and in 2017 Apple and Google both were making huge strides in their design language, while also adding quality of life features, voice assistant upgrades, and adding these smaller additions like Google Lens, Control Center, picture-in-picture mode, and dark mode. It's easy to say that 2017 was the year that a new standard for software was being set, and this is a huge year for Samsung to get it right. If you guys know old school Samsung, like the S6 and back, their software was always just full of stuff, and it was just always a bloated, messy experience. With the S8, they address a lot of those issues while giving us some new features as well, and one of the most notable new software features introduced with the S8 is Samsung DeX, which in my opinion is a complete game changer, and still to this day does not get enough credit, by the way. It was first seen in the Galaxy S8, and at the time it was unheard of. But DeX is a software feature that turns your Galaxy into an Android-based standalone desktop when connected with an external adapter. It works just like you'd expect a desktop machine to work, and to this day, no one offers any similar feature. We also saw the introduction of Bixby paired with a dedicated hardware button for instant access. This was also Samsung's newest feature with the S8, and in retrospect, I feel like they only launched this to try and compete with Siri and Google Assistant, but it was clearly not ready, or just needed a bit more time. At the time, Bixby could do pretty much everything that the other assistants could do, but it was still a few steps behind. Most notably, Bixby was just slower and probably needed another year or so of development. Also, during 2017, being a Google purist or loving stock Android only was the trend at the time, so when the S8 reviews were released, the whole tech community basically trashed on Bixby in favor of Google Assistant, which caused a lot of users to remap that dedicated Bixby button to Google Assistant, which pissed Samsung off because they disabled that function for at at least a little while after it was released. Overall, Bixby was way too late to the game and had quite a bit of catch up to do at the time it was released. Same as Apple and Google, Samsung also had a design language overhaul that was introduced with the S8. This overhaul was called the Samsung Experience. A year later, Samsung would rebrand again to be known as One UI, which is the software experience that we are still using today. Visually, this was a complete redesign from the simpler, more colorful Samsung icons to the new blurs and animations. Every stock app was retouched to have this signature new Samsung style with borders and a clear emphasis on large text to give us a minimalist look, as well as a focus on one-handed usability. We got a ton of new features like dark mode, Bixby Home, which was later updated to Samsung Free, and the iris scanner, which I commend Samsung for wanting to implement this new technology, but it is not that great. Basically, to get even a 50% success rate, you have to hit a sweet spot, which means you can't get your face too close, can't get too far, can't hold your phone at a convenient angle because then the iris scanning won't trigger. This technology specifically did not age well, and in 2022, it is better, faster, and more reliable to turn off the iris scanning completely and just go for the normal face unlock or the fingerprint scanner. When reviewing these older phones, I love talking about performance because that is a huge testament to the overall quality of a device. I don't have a hill to die on here regarding this because there are hundreds of factors that come into play when discussing long-term performance of a device. In general, I'd say all smartphone manufacturers should strive to have their devices run relatively well for at least a couple years after its final software update. I think these $800 to $1,500 phones should last a while, half a decade at least, and I respect those manufacturers that can make it happen. For the S8, I wanted to go into this review saying performance was rough and that it was an awful experience, but after using it as a daily driver for a few weeks, I was surprised to see this phone keep up well with whatever I threw at it. You can forget animations running smooth, and I think that's why at first I wanted to tell you guys that performance was bad, but the reality is this handles day-to-day tasks actually very well. I work in an insurance office, so I'm always bouncing around apps on my phone, going to this email to grab a document and respond to that client while sending a quick photo of a proposal immediately after hopping off a call. Minus the animation jitters and the half-second or so load time between tasks, I haven't experienced any major issues regarding speed and performance of the S8. However, once you throw heavy gaming into the mix, the phone definitely starts to show its age. It's nothing tragic, the phone just slows down a lot and will hang in performance quite a bit. In-game performance, like with COD Mobile for example, is great though. On medium settings, I have no issues with lag or dropped frames, which surprises me. Overall, performance is much better than expected. Talking about the camera real quick, it holds up surprisingly well. My main device is an iPhone 12, and all I have to say is that the S8 is comparable, which again is impressive for a 5-year-old device. The camera on the S8 is pretty much on par with modern phones regarding colors and details of a photo in just a standard sunny day setting. Probably the biggest difference you'll notice in quality is the low light performance. The technology in present day has just gotten so good and it's just obvious. The S8 can still do passable low light photos, but this is where the modern day phones obviously shine. Overall, my iPhone is still a more reliable camera for taking photos or creating content or whatever, but obviously the S8's cameras are still killing it. The last big thing I wanted to talk about is the screen. These days, how good a screen can be is very subjective. Some people have different tastes and different expectations, so I won't go off saying that this screen is better than XYZ phone from an objective position. In my opinion, this 6.2-inch Quad HD Plus Super AMOLED display, whatever you want to call it, is a banger. Displaying anything on the screen looks so rich and beautiful, and it reminds me why I loved Android phones in the first place. Something as simple as watching content on this is a good experience. The screen is vivid and is able to show off a great range of contrast, and I just love it. The best way for me to explain is to simply just show you. Lately, I've been watching a ton of Lego Star Wars content, and I like to just pause the video and compare it to my iPhone 12 Pro. At any given frame, you have deep blacks, you can actually see the shadows, lighting casts a nice glow, the colors like these holograms, for example, are so vibrant, and to me, this experience is just another level. Same thing when I watch other gameplay like Tina's Wonderlands, for example. Again, super rich colors, you get much fuller shadows, and compared to the S8, the iPhone 12 seems washed out. And it just makes me think how crazy it is that Samsung phones released 5 years ago can even come close close to phones released today. Overall, the S8 holds up surprisingly well in the tech world today, and since its 5-year anniversary just passed, I thought it'd be great to take a quick retrospective look at how it started and how it's holding up. Some of the last minute thoughts that I wanted to talk about real quick is the battery, and it's rough. I have the original battery in mine, and I can probably get maybe 3 hours of screen on time. With the power save mode, I can actually stretch it a bit more, but I don't want to make performance worse than it already is. The stereo speaker just sucks. We're definitely treated very well with stereo speakers being the expectation with phones released today. And finally, my USB-C port is corroded. That water resistance is awesome, but if you don't make sure your charging port is dry, this can definitely happen to you as well. So yeah, if you're buying used, test those things first, charging port and the battery most notably. Other than that, guys, that's pretty much it. The S8 is a great phone, and I had so much fun making this video, so at least I hope you guys enjoyed it or found something helpful here. And with that said, guys, I'm getting out of here, so thank you so much for watching. This has been Jordan Floyd, and I hope to see you in the next one.